Hello, I'll be talking today about neurons, different types of neurons, but I will tie in all the essential skills talking specifically about serotonergic neurons. I'll connect essential 0 by defining how the cell is alive and why, talking about essential 1 inquiry by talking about the discovery of serotonin in the brain, essential number 2 by explaining how diet affects serotonin release, essential number 3 by explaining how tryptophan hydroxylase turns L-tryptophan into 5-hydroxytryptamine, and serotonin syndrome. Essentials 4 and 5 explaining the structure of neurons and comparing them to other cells to see what they have in common, explaining energy by how neurons communicate, and the path of tryptophan. For Essential Skill 1 Inquiry, I will talk about the discovery of serotonin. Before serotonin was discovered in 1935 by Vittorio Erspamer, previously named Entramine, psychiatry thought of mental illnesses in correlation with bad breastfeeding, bad potty training, among other things. An idea that brain chemistry had to do with mental illnesses was very controversial. Serotonin was officially serotonin in 1952 when they noticed in previous studies by Maurice M. Ramport and Arthur Green that this compound had vasoconstricting properties. Now I will connect Essential Skills 4 and 5 to neurons. For Essential Skill 4, I will discuss the structure of neurons. Neurons have a cell membrane, nucleus, nucleolus, endoplasmic reticulum, microtubes, mitochondria, which means it needs glucose and oxygen for it to produce ATP, the fuel for the cells, ribosomes that make proteins, synapses, and receptors that we will be talking about further in this video. As you can see, neurons exhibit eukaryotic properties. These cells work in very similar ways as any other cells in the human body. What normal human cells do not have is microtubes. These microtubes transport neurotransmitters in vesicles that enable neurons to be able to communicate with each other. Among neurons, there are different types of neurons. Afferent neurons convey information from tissues and organs into the central nervous system. These are sensory neurons. Efferent neurons transmit signals from the central nervous system to the effector cells. These are called motor neurons. Interneurons connect neurons with specific regions of the central nervous system. Afferent and efferent refer to neurons that bring or send information from the brain region. For Essential Skill number 5, energy, I will explain how neurons communicate through neurotransmitters and electrical charges. A neuron communicates with other neurons by the type of receptor that is activated. Receptors can be classified broadly as excitatory, causing an increase in firing rate, inhibitory, causing decrease in fire rate, or modulatory, causing long-lasting effects not directly related to firing rate. Also, neurons differ in type by neurotransmitters they manufacture. Some examples are cholinergic neurons, GABAergic neurons, glutamatergic neurons, dopaminergic neurons, and serotonergic neurons that we will be talking specifically about today. Welcome to the magnificent world of chemistry. Now for connection, I will link this to the last years in chemistry class. First, because I will be talking mostly of serotonergic neurons, I will be talking about its chemical structure that will connect with Essential Skill 3 by looking at tryptophan hydroxylase along with monoamine oxidase. Serotonin is a tryptamine. This is a skeleton of any tryptamine. Tryptamines are fascinating to me in many ways, along with phenethylamines. Attach a carbolic acid to the alpha position and you have L-tryptophan. Attach a phosphate in the R4 position and you have psilocybin. Attach hydroxy to the R5 position and you have serotonin. Substitute the amine with nitrogen along with 2 methyl groups and you have dimethyltryptamine. You can get a wide variety of very interesting compounds attaching and detaching different chemical groups. With this said, the body cannot synthesize serotonin without L-tryptophan. Serotonin is synthesized from L-tryptophan by a short metabolic pathway consisting of 2 enzymes, tryptophan hydroxylase and amino acid decarboxylase. After this process is fulfilled, the RAF nuclei found in the brain stem, consisting mostly of serotonergic neurons, then proceed to release it to the rest of the brain, going counterclockwise from the thalamus all the way to the hippocampus. Now I will proceed to talk about what happens in the receptors, my favorite part. As you can see in this diagram, there's a lot going on. I took some time to really let that diagram sink in so I can develop deeper understanding. I then figured out visually what happens in the receptors when people are depressed. Research suggests eating a diet rich in carbohydrates and low in protein will increase serotonin by secreting insulin, which helps in amino acid competition. Muscles use many of the amino acids except tryptophan, allowing more muscular individuals to produce more serotonin. So it really comes down to diet and exercise. In psychiatry, SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, mean that the reuptake by the presynaptic serotonin neuron will be blocked, forcing serotonin to bind to the postsynaptic serotonin receptors, benefiting neurocommunication. An example of this is fluoxetine or Prozac. Serotonergic neurons with 5-HT2A receptors, mainly in the prefrontal, parietal, and somatosensory cortex, are targets for antidepressants as well as psychedelic drugs. Serotonergic neurons, also with 5-HT2C, find in areas of the brain like striatum, prefrontal cortex, hippocampus, hypothalamus, among others. This receptor is interesting because unlike the 5-HT2A receptors, the 5-HT2C, when binded by serotonin activating it, it inhibits dopamine and norepinephrine release in certain areas of the brain. I wish I could talk all day about this, but it's simply too much information. This concludes the lesson on serotonergic neurons. This project really helped me to draw very important connections between mood and brain chemistry. I hope I tied the essential skills clearly. If not, I don't know what would proceed. But I had a lot of fun doing this video, and I learned a whole lot about it, and it was just a whole journey making all the checkpoints in the honors video. And I just want to thank you this semester. Everything was really, really cool. You were very, very patient with all of us. And well, just thank you. And that's all.